My name is Fari, and today we're going to be going through the systems that you should be having on your website on the back end to 10x your output as a business owner. And today we're going to be going through all the steps and procedures and processes that you'd want to have to 10x your output on your website. So let's get into it. So the first thing when you normally have a website is you have a landing page. For example, you have your home page with text, you have images, and you have your contact us form. But what these things you main aim to do is to do these three things, which is drive leads, which leads to revenue, and also efficient processes in capturing those leads that you have, which ultimately boil down to one thing, which is driving your business more revenue. And these are the processes or the ideal output that you would want from having a normal static site. But what you don't have by having a normal static site is one of these three main things, and these are super important if you want to really drive the system behind the website, because if you don't have these, you're not going to know where you can improve. And these three things are obviously, you have no workflow when you have a static landing site, because when you have a static landing site, you just churn out data. You basically say, hey, someone lands on the page, they inquire, cool. And you have no sequences of processes to track how many people have inquired, and then those people that have inquired to then have like a sequence of processes on the back end, which then allows you to follow up and also capture that extra leaking revenue within the business. And you need to have these on the back end of your system, because if you don't have this, you're not going to understand how your specific process within your business works, and you're not going to get the tune out of your static or landing page as much as you should be. And with that, you run into a problem of now you have no automations on your static landing site. So why is this even important? Because workflows and automations allow you to understand the sequences and processes within your business that you're supposed to have, and then automating those processes, because you can't automate what you don't have. And the flexibility that a normal static site that really does not do anything does not give you that flexibility. And what that also leads down to is you have no data. You can't track your metrics. Yes, you may have your Facebook or meta ads that you may be running, but in a couple months time, are you going to understand, or are you going to know who are the people that followed up, and are you going to know how to capture that data to then run sequences of emails on the back end? You probably not. And that's where this system behind your website comes super important, because you're not going to know these key metrics or have the sequence of processes on the back end, because if you have these, then you can understand where you can improve within your business. And most people take a landing page and they say, hey, I just want a landing page and I don't want it to do anything. But in my view, that is the wrong way to look at it. I look at it as a powerhouse and a digital infrastructure that can be built as a part of your core system within your business if you execute it right. And by having a workflow, automation, and data tracking on this, you can drastically improve how your website functions as a system in your business. And with that, you can then probably fall into one of these three things, which is you lead to vendor delays, inventory flops, or no-shows. And these are all different problems that you may be facing within your business, depending on what specific characteristics you're mainly looking to drive. For example, vendor delays could be if you're an events planning business, and then inventory flops could be mainly possibly if you're mainly focusing on tracking a system as a whole for e-commerce, and then no shows if you are in the medical field and you're looking to basically drive more revenue by having more patients booked. And with that, you can then see how your business is a bucket with holes. 50k to 5 million is pouring out. A static site is a sticker on the bucket, but it doesn't stop the leak. If you just have a website as a digital brochure, but you're not adding it as a core system within your business, then you're missing out on a lot of opportunities that you could be driving within your business. And it's all about knowing these specific challenges that you may not even be knowing that you're facing, but you are, and it's hurting your business a lot more than you think they are. So now we can we can look at a 3-step process, which is plan, build, and win. Which plan, we basically identify your biggest leak, which is, for example, you say you have 50K winning delays. You have these delays simply because you just have a static site, but it's not really driving revenue to your business. And build, we basically create a system and plug it in, which is your vendor sync. For example, this could be just basically syncing all of the metrics within your business and then saying, hey, all the people that are coming in, we're going to store them in a specific place. And then in a couple months' time, we're going to run emails to basically say, hey, we're going to target these people and make sure that in a couple months' time, they're part of our system, because you as a business owner are trying to solve their problems, but you're not going to solve their problems if they don't come to you, and they need to know that they have a problem. So this is part of the system that you can basically improve. And then we have the last part, which is win, which I aim to save between 80K to 5 million and scale to revenue. As a business owner, these figures may be different, but your main win here is to save as much money as you possibly can within, whether it may be time or whether it may be time, labor, basically your processes, you're manually doing these processes, and if you're doing it, you need to save as much time as you possibly can. And with that, we can then move on to the next phase, which is the power of the backend. So why is this tool so powerful? Well, we can look at a dashboard. For example, a dashboard would have your graphs, your buttons, your alerts, and your key data, churn rates, P&L sheets, your profit and loss sheets. So this also ultimately leads to you having green dollars showing ROI, which is 80K to 5 million saved. So this is important because when you have a dashboard, you're able to see all your key metrics in one place. Everything is consolidated, so you're not just hoping to say like, hey, what is going on within my business. And that's where we see the key data. For example, your churn rates. If you have a subscription based model and you're subscribing people for $50 a month, and then you are losing 10 people in a month, but you're adding back 5, you're obviously going to hit a ceiling, and you need to know that. And if you power this with the systems in place, you're going to be able to see where you can improve within your business. And all of this means that a backend system basically turns your website into a machine that basically allows you to drive more revenue for your business. And what does it do? It basically automates workflows, drives revenue, and tracks data. These 3 main things are the most important things to have within your system, because if you're automating workflows, it basically, you as a business owner, removes you from doing the day-to-day tasks and also saves your team time, which you could be adding back into tasks that actually provide a lot more revenue within your business, which then drives revenue. Because the main aim for most business owners, or for you, is to drive as much revenue as you possibly can by using the most efficient and sustainable processes. And with that, you track data. You need to track your data, because if you're not able to track how many people are coming onto your site and also where the bottlenecks are, you're losing out on a lot of potential. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to miss out on that potential. And unlike static sites, it's dynamic, meaning that you're able to sync your teams. Basically, everyone is understanding of what is going on within the business, and you can track all their movements within their business, within your business, so that you're understanding how the team is performing, how the profit and loss sheets are performing, how the churn rates are performing. And you need to understand this by having a generated system that's specifically tailored for you, and also catches leaks. For example, our churn rate. If we don't understand why people are churning so much, then we're not going to be able to understand, for example, where are people most active within our solution that we have for them, and where is the drop off. If you come into a business and you don't understand that, you're going to struggle. And that's where we come in, or the system comes in. It helps you scale with you from where you're at to where you want to be. And that is where the example comes in, where we scale you with you from, for example, 1 million to 1 billion, because this system is mainly built to scale with you. You'd want the system to scale with you, not against you. And with this, we can say, for example, we can say winning businesses backend vendor tracks backend vendors, flags 50K delays, sends SMS fixes, and 80K is saved in 10 minutes. This is just an example of what this system can do, but idealistically, we can say it saves you $80,000 in a year, depending on how tailored you want your system to be. And with this, we can then integrate custom workflows, meaning that it's built for your business, no generic nonsense, which means off-the-shelf tools can't match this level of precision by having this on your static site. And with this, you can say that a static site is a billboard and a backend's a race car. Fast, custom, and built to win. It's your business's command center and not just a poster. And this means that we fall into three main things, again with our process, which is plan, build, and win. And with this, we can pinpoint our pain, which, for example, maybe 50K in vendor chaos. Everyone's not knowing what to do, so then we're not understanding where the bottlenecks are within the business. So then we can build a backend to crush it using these Django or Render, which is just basically technical systems that we use for that. And then we win by saving 80K to 5 million, grow faster than competitions. Because this system on the back end of your website can drive so much potential if you execute it right. And this then leads to a question you may ask. Okay, so what's the difference with backend? Like, what kind of different backends are there? So we can then see we have multiple different backends that we can see. So for example, if you're in an events business, you can see this vendor sync system where it tracks caterers slash florists and then also flags 50K delays and then sends SMS fixes to your admin dashboard so that you're understanding, hey, there's something wrong within our system, and it urgently alerts you to know that, hey, this needs your attention right now. And what this ultimately is aimed to do is to save between 80K to 150K per year. And then, like a traffic cop, it clears your chaos for you. And then we can look into the lead tracker system where we basically capture leads and assign tasks. And with that, we run email follow-ups, like I mentioned before, which ultimately cuts 200K in churn, which then a net is similar to a net catching falling profits. Because most of the time, what people want is to be heard. And if you send a custom email, it can genuinely do a lot for your business in terms of saving clients and people that are subscribed to your business. And with that, we can also see inventory. If you're into e-commerce, inventory then tracks stock and flags $1 million worth of leaks and then adjusts orders accordingly, with the ultimate aim of saving you $1 million per year. And then a vault is similar to a vault locking your gold, because you simply understand, hey, we've been told that this system is telling us that there's a process, there's an error within our business, and we need to fix it. And what tailored solution do we need to have? Then you receive an SMS. You can just look into the system as a whole, and then you see that it needs you to adjust your orders for how you're basically managing those orders. And then we can see a 4 appointment system, which basically would work for periodontists, or if you're in the medical space, which would be to flag $100,000 of worth of no-shows, and then reschedules via SMS. And then this allows you to reschedule your calls, because most of the time, if people aren't reminded, hey, you've got an appointment, or hey, you've got this and so going on, they might not show up, and that is a problem for your business. But if you have a sequence or a workflow for that, to say, hey, we need as much people reminded to their appointment, so that drives more revenue, because if people don't show up, obviously you're not making money. So if you don't have a process as to, if people don't show up, what's the next step? Hey, you're just gonna send the message like, hey, you missed your appointment, but there must be a reason why they missed it. And it's truly understanding that and having systems and processes behind that to say, hey, this workflow is going to work for this specific individual. And if they don't show up, then this is what we do. And then, like I said, this is like a vault. This is like a vault locking your gold. And then we can then say, hey, these systems save between 50K to 5 million, turning your website, your simple website, into a revenue engine and not just a cost. And with that, we can then say your business is a city in chaos. Vendors, leads, stock all jammed. Our backend systems are the mayor, ensuring that we fix every street in order to save you millions of dollars per year. And with this, we can then go into our favorite execution game plan, which is plan, build, and win, which we then plan by mapping out your niche's biggest loss. Example, if you're a periodontist or you're in the medical space, $100,000 worth of no-show, and then we build a tailored system in weeks and not years, because this system needs to be able to run for you as soon as possible. And then our win for this would be save 50K to 5 million and scale to a billion. But this is just an example, but yours would obviously be different for this, and then you would just need to tailor it. And now you may be asking yourself, okay, so why can't I just use a generic, off the shelf tool? So now this is where the difference comes in. You have two routes that you could take, and we'll be focusing on a few main points, which is the initial purpose, speed to implementation, workflow fit, problem solving, ROI potential, and scaling power between custom build and off the shelf. So we can start off with custom build, where we see that it is built for you, so everything is tailored to your specific needs as a business owner. It's not a generic tool that you can just get, because you may want specific challenges, or you may face specific challenges within your business that are only unique to you and your landscape and what other people may be facing. For example, if you're based in Africa and you are using a software based in America, you may have different challenges that you may have to overcome as compared to different locations, because different places have different challenges, and this is built specifically for you and your business, which ultimately gives you a competitive edge. And with this is, although it is slower setup, it has a longer term vision. If you're looking more into the future of how to actually scale your business, you're looking more long term. And with this system, like I mentioned before, it grows with you, and it's supposed to enable you to 10x what you're doing in the present moment in time and into the future. And with this, you tailor your exact chaos or needs, and this is a deep permanent fix. So each part of this is deeply rooted into your specific business. It's not a generic tool that you can just grab off the shelf and say, hey, I'm just going to take this and we're just going to use it. It might not work for you and your specific needs. And with this, we have 80K to 5 million potential. So we have a high ceiling of growth potential within this. And it enables scaling from where you are at to where you want to be. For example, 1 million to 1 billion. And with this, we can then go on to off-the-shelf tools, which are generic build. They're super generic and they're quick and easy to launch, meaning you can set up within a few days, and you will use generic workflows, meaning you just use the pre-built workflows, and you'd have to customize that, which might be a steep learning curve for you, especially since you're just trying to build and start generating as much revenue. You may not have time for that, and with that, you have surface level shallow patches. You won't have those deep rooted problem solving, those problems solved, because it's not specifically built for your business. And also, you have 10 to 50K potential. So what this means is your value is capped and not fit for large scale. If you're trying to scale to a billion plus, this may become challenging for your specific business, because you're capped in terms of how much scale you can have with a generic software. And with this, you can say similarities, which both aim to streamline business operations and both save money. And those are the two intersection points where we can see that these are two similar systems. And with this, we then go into our game plan, which is plan, build, and win, which then we identify your 50K to $5 million leagues, and we build a custom fix and not just a generic patch. And then we save between 10 to 100x more, and the win for here would be you'd be able to save 10 to 100x more than off the shelf. So or we can see how this game plan is now formulating in order for you to basically 10x what you're doing within your business and save a lot of money. And with this, we can then go into how we basically deliver this. So we go into our framework, which is plan, build, and win, which we then say plan, where we map out your biggest leaks, 50k vendor delays, or 5 million worth of sprawl, and we aim to 10x that by planning. This planning process is very deep rooted in understanding how your business functions, and not every solution may work, and that's where we go super deep in understanding how we can provide the most amount of value for your specific business and the challenges that it may face from today and into the future. And then we build, where we build a custom backend in weeks, and then we tailor your niche. For example, profit sinks if you're running a wedding business, which then allows you to basically 10x what you've been currently doing at this present moment in time. And then win, you basically save 80k to 5 million, you scale faster, and you dominate your market. And one thing that I just need to add on this is, if you have a custom built tailored solution, it doesn't have to be fully custom. For example, connecting all the different intricate systems, but if you have a system that is tailored to your specific needs, you're gonna have a competitive advantage that no one else can match. And with this, it grows with you, like I said, so you can constantly refine it and update it as much as you need to as time goes. And with that, we have an example of saying a wedding business backend saved 80k in 10 minutes by syncing vendors. Your 50k to 5 million is next. And we can just say this dashboard shows you that 80k is saved within your business. And essentially that is it. So if you enjoy this video, make sure to let me know what you would like to hear next and what you'd like me to share. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys in the next one.